أولنا محمد أوسطنا محمد آخرنا محمد صلوا على محمد آخرنا محمد صلوا على محمد. مو عجب تزهر الأرض وانت ساكن ثراها، الله يا طه. مو عجب يختفي القمر من تنور دجاها.
Salman comes to Amir al-Momineen alayhi salam. He says to him, he says, who is more generous? You or Hakem al-Taayie? Who is Hakem al-Taayie? Look into the history and you see. We have certain narrations that say that he was the most generous person in all of Arabia. In fact, he's that person, he didn't embrace Islam, but the Prophet of God has said, he is not in hell and he's not in heaven. He's in an in-between point. Why? Because he was very generous. Let me give you the background to this man and you'll understand the reply of Amir al-Momineen. This is that man who, when he built his house, he had 40 doors. 40 different doors. He was so generous that when a person used to knock on the door, he would come to the first door, he would change his clothes, he would give that person. Then he would go to the second door, he would change his clothes again, he would give again from the second door, and the third door, and the fourth door. 40 doors he had. He had no problem in giving. The day he passes away, his son comes up to the mother, his grandmother actually, and he says, from today onwards I'm going to sit on the chair of my father and I'm going to give things. She says, fine, why don't you do it? But know one thing, you're not like your father. He says, what do you mean I'm not like my father? I can also give. He says, no, believe me, you're not like your father. You know the difference between you and your father? Even as a child, your father, when children used to cry, he used to give his toys to them. And I remember he used to take them away. He said, you're not like your father. He says, well, at least I can try. He sits down, there's a knock on the door. He goes to the door, he sees an old woman, he gives her some wealth. This very old woman goes to the second door, she knocks again. The young man gets up, he goes to the door. He says, look, old woman, I already gave you some wealth. Why have you come back again? You know what she replies? She says, is Hakem dead? He says, why? He says, because I used to go to all 40 doors. He never asked me or he didn't say anything to me. This is the status of that man, Hakem al-Taayie. Now Salman comes up and Salman says to Amir al-Momineen, who's more giving, you or him? Amir al-Momineen says, he confirms, he says, Hakem al-Taayie, yes. He was very giving. He was a generous man. But then Amir al-Momineen says, he says, he may have had 40 doors. But when one person comes to my door, I give them so much they don't need to go to a second door. So now this is Amir al-Momineen. Why don't you go to his door and ask on his door? I know every single person here maybe has something within their heart. You want to ask. Go to the door of Ahlul Bayt. Address Amir al-Momineen, say to him, look, you're that generous that when a person would come, you would give everything. Look at the 6th Imam alayhi salam. You see his seerah. He goes to the door, there's a knock on the door. He takes everything that he has, all of his wealth. He comes to the door, he doesn't show his face. He puts his hand out and he says, take this and go. You know what the person replies? He replies and he says to him, I wonder at this person, how he's going to be buried and how dirt is going to be put upon his face when he is so giving. Even they're baffled at this. Look at Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. The door is open for you. Understand who he is. Understand who these Aimma are. When you understand them, you understand the reality of yourself.